Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Steve Larson, and you're listening to Secret MLM Hacks Radio. So here's the real mystery. How do real MLMers like us, who didn't cheat and only bug family members and friends, who want to grow a profitable home business, how do we recruit A players into our downlines and create extra incomes, yet still have plenty of time for the rest of our lives? That's the blaring question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name is Steve Larson, and welcome to Secret MLM Hacks Radio. All right, you guys, I got something special to share with you today. Now, back when I was in college, when I first started learning about how to drive internet traffic, and I started learning more about how to actually market online, there was a book I came across that had quite an impact on me. At the time, I was doing lots of side businesses with buddies. We were going around trying to do real estate deals. I was driving traffic for Paul Mitchell, like the big hair company. We'd build websites for the rising companies and their rising celebrities before they went on TV, stuff like that. I mean, we were all over the place doing tons of stuff, and it was a lot of fun. But there was a specific book that I read that really helped me understand more of what I need to be doing inside the person's brain, as they experience what I was building. So think about this with your MLM, right? Think about this with the things that you are out and you're creating, and think about what it is that you can start to apply here. This is a huge lesson, all right? Okay, so the book is Launch. It's a book by Jeff Walker, and what he does is he teaches you how to create what we call a launch sequence, and basically a product launch funnel. Let's say that you've never launched officially the product you're selling. Let's say you've never actually created an event around the thing that you're selling. How do you actually do that, right? I just talked about how you need to create events around what it is that you do. Well, how do you actually do that, right? And so the book Launch is fantastic. I recommend it to pretty much everybody, whoever wants to make money online, and especially if you're inside the MLM space, because it's not a normal style book that I think most stereotypically the MLMer will go through. And there were 9 things that I realized that I needed before I was going to be successful inside my MLM. But what was funny is that none of them were tangible. These are all intangible things, which, to be honest, completely shocked me. I mean, it's not. I thought that it'd be some, hey, here's the 9 steps, here's the 9 things, and that's not at all how this works. It works instead. Think of it kind of like an emotional state checklist. Let's make sure that we hit each one of these points inside the person's brain. These are the things that get somebody moving. Now, I've already mentioned before, and we all know, humans are lazy by nature. I mean, we just are. We always choose the path of least resistance, which is not a bad thing. Some people say that as a negative thing, but it means we go create better processes. Hey, you know what? I don't want to walk 500 miles. Let's invent a car. You know what I mean? Not that that's how that happened, but you know what I mean? It's not a bad thing that we go for the path of least resistance. However, a lot of times when it comes to our MLMs and the offers that we have, it can be a bad thing, because if we don't put the other person in a certain state of mind, they're not going to do anything with your MLM. They're not going to do anything with your offer. They're not going to join you. They're not going to care at all about you, because they will look at you as being selfish. Does that make sense? And when I was driving traffic for Paul Mitchell, that's what I started realizing. I could drive a crap ton of traffic. We'd drive traffic all over the place. I remember my record so far is 53,400 visits in 2 days to a single website. And I was like, holy crap, like we could drive traffic. But I wasn't doing, I'm going to go through this list here in just a second. There's 9 of them, 9 mental triggers, but I wasn't doing these triggers. And because I wasn't doing these triggers, it comes off as if I'm barking. You know what I mean? It comes off as if I'm annoying, as if I'm loud, as if I'm running up to somebody in the mall. Just like, it's kind of a standard cliche thing for MLMers to do, right? And so if you don't want to come across like this, or come across as like you're barking, or you're begging, or you're yelling, or you're saying, come over here and come with me. If you don't want to compete solely on price, okay, this is how you do it, all right? And these are 9 things that you can do inside somebody's brain to help them want to take action. Does that make sense? All right. So here they are. These are the 9. Number 1, you've got to have some likability. Meaning, are you likable? Does the other person like you? Now, this list might sound a little bit shocking to you, but notice I didn't say, hey, tell them why you're cheaper than the other guy. Does that make sense? Do they like you? So number 1, and some of these are things that are really easy to do, and some of them are a little bit little bit harder to do. So number one, likability. Number two, reciprocity. How do I get someone to feel reciprocity in their brain? How do I do it? Well, I give them something for free, which is exactly how I vet people on the internet, right? When people join my downline, I give them these systems that go out and they say, hey, let's get you giving out this free stuff. If you don't have free stuff, don't worry, I've got stuff for you. And what it does is it creates these feelings of reciprocity. Somebody wants to reciprocate. If somebody shows up, it's just like this. If somebody shows up at your door on holidays and they've got something for you, let's say it's a neighbor, and let's say they bring you a plate of cookies, right? I remember distinctly my mom, my wife, even myself now. Like if somebody says, hey, we brought you this stuff, there's this immediate feeling. I'm always like, hey, wait just a second. Let me run back into the kitchen and see if we have something for them. You know what I mean? You're trying to create that feeling of reciprocity. And if you don't do, if you do that before ever asking for the sale, it's a lot easier. Okay, so number one, likability. If you're just obviously a straight up jerk, obviously it's hard to be likable. If you are what we call an attractive character, that doesn't mean visually, but you know what I mean? Like, are you someone that's nice to be around? You can create likability inside the person's brain. Number two, reciprocity. Are you creating reciprocity inside their head? Number three, authority. Now, authority is interesting. We trust figures of authority all the time. Right? Let's say I'm driving down the street and I run a stop sign, I only need to barely glimpse the colors red and blue flashing lights in my rearview mirror to know that an authority figure is pulling me over. Does that make sense? So the question is to ask is, what are the authority figures? What's the feelings of authority? Not that you're trying to be dominant or domineering or use these powers I'm about to show you for evil, but what you are doing is you're saying, hey, how can I come at a place of authority to show that hey, you know what? I've actually done what I'm talking about, and this is actually, you know what I'm saying? So if you can create feelings of authority. Number four is trust. Now trust, a lot of these all kind of happen and a little bit they're intertwined all throughout. Someone can be in a place of an authority, but you can totally not trust them. You know what I mean? I'm sure, I'm not going to get into this at all, but I'm sure sometimes leaders that we voted for or didn't vote for, right? Those can have those feelings where they're in a position of authority, but maybe you don't trust them. Right? So there's a different thing. So how do you develop trust? Well, one of the easiest ways to do it is to help the other person solve one of their problems before you ask them to help solve your own. Right? What's the problem you're trying to solve? Well, I want to join. I want to get this big downline. I want to get people in. I want to get people joining what I'm doing. If you present your problem before you help solve their problem, no one's going to care about you. Okay? You got to lead with the value, and trust comes really easy. All right, number 5 here is social proof. Now, social proof is an interesting one. Here's an example. And actually, Jeff Walker, I can't remember if it's in the book Launch or not, but he gives this example and he says, hey, have you ever gotten off of an airplane? And as you're getting off of an airplane, you kind of just follow the crowd in front of you when suddenly everyone is turning around and walking the complete opposite direction, right? You weren't looking for baggage claim. You weren't, you know what I mean? You're just following the crowd. That's a perfect example of social proof, right? Where you don't ask questions, you just are assuming because everybody else, the masses, are going a certain direction, so you are too, right? And so if you can create the feelings of social proof inside of someone else's head, that also obviously is going to give, that's a mental trigger, and it's a huge mental trigger. Obviously, you could use each one of these in good ways and bad ways. All right, now here's the 6th one, scarcity. Now, this is very real. I don't let just anybody join my downline. What? Steven, oh my gosh, I thought you wanted everyone to join your downline. Oh my gosh. That's not the case at all. I don't want everyone to join my downline, right? That was one of the biggest realizations I ever had. If somebody needs to join, if I'm looking across the street and somebody's like, oh, that guy needs to join my downline, right? Look at the situation they're in. Look at the financial situation. They need to join. If they need to join, I don't want them in my downline. That's not why I'm getting these people in. Does that make sense? Scarcity is a big deal. So I make people apply to join my downline. I really do. And I will say no to people as like, you know what, you may not be a good fit, or you know what, why don't you turn around and go learn X, Y, and Z first. I'm not in the business of taking on another project, right? And I can't have a person be a project. Does that make sense? Sounds totally harsh, but it will change your entire business. Okay, so scarcity, it's a scarce thing to join my downline. Now, obviously, yes, I would love the masses. I would love this. I would love that. But my team leaders, the people that, it seriously is an application style business for me. When I flipped that on its head, and there's actually an application form, which I've been building it. Maybe I'll tell you guys about that in another episode. But there's actually an application someone goes through that I created on my own that is not provided by my MLM. I made it in order to join my downline. Does that make sense? I want to vet them. I want to know why they want to be in it. I'm not exposing my link all over the place. I actually make my link scarce. Does that make sense? And what's funny is that when we have feelings of scarcity or we think something's going to run out, we want it more. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'll talk more about that maybe in probably another episode, because it's a cool strategy that I use for that has to do with how I auto-close people with some systems online. All right, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. Number 7. Number 7 is anticipation. Now, one of the easiest ways to create anticipation is by events. That could be a physical event. It could be a viral event. It could be, something online. It could be something that you're just talking about. Heck, car dealerships use any excuse to throw events. There's events all over the place. Anyway, but anticipation, if you can always be talking about what's about to happen, the future, right? Those kinds of things help you a lot build feelings of anticipation, right? I don't know if you ever heard of the book, The 4-Hour Workweek. It's one of my favorite books. But in there, the way that he got that book out to market was fascinating. He did not just write a book and release it. He spent like a year just releasing a chapter 2 here, chapter 2 there, wait a lot of months, come back. And all he was doing is getting on interviews, getting on shows, talking about it, getting all over the place, different, publishing all over. You see what I'm saying? And he built anticipation prior to the launch. How can you do that in your MLM? How? If you're always available, there's no anticipation, right? Or if there's never an event, there's no anticipation. Throw some kind of event, something. All right, number 8 here is community. Community is obviously very related to social proof, but if I have the feelings that when I'm joining, I'm actually joining a legitimate community, that's power, my friends. That's such power. Because now the community becomes their support system. I remember the first time I launched I launched an info product a while ago, and I realized that I was the only support. I realized that there was no community, and I realized that I had done it wrong. And when I switched that and instead built a community around the product, man, it's so much easier. I didn't have to be there all the time. People didn't need as much hand-holding, and it really freed me up. That's one of the keys of duplication, all right? And then number 9 is actually back to events and rituals. Now, events I already talked about, but rituals is actually the part that is, this is such a big deal. If you can get people, right, when I was in the Army, as a basic training, what would we do every single morning? Wake up, immediately, you shave as fast as you can, put your uniform on, run outside and start doing push-ups, right? That was like a ritualistic thing every single day. And there were things that we would do over and over and over again. And what's funny is it would put us in state, whatever state they wanted us to be in. It was total state control, right? But they would use that ritual and help us maintain the ritual to maintain the state of a soldier. Does that make sense? It's the exact same thing for your downline. There are rituals I have my people go through. There are rituals I have my downline go through. And I need to have that. I need them to go through certain rituals. What are the daily rituals? What are the weekly rituals? What are the monthly rituals? What are the yearly rituals? What are the things that my community does, my downline, my company, right? If it's my company, I'm not just grabbing a franchise. I am, but I'm turning into a company. What are things that my company does on a regular basis, routinely, that everyone can focus on, everyone can anchor into and have support with? Those rituals will save your butt. Oh my gosh, especially after somebody joins your downline, right? They got to know what to do immediately. You have got to have a set of rituals ready for them and help them and get them indoctrinated into them. Does that make sense? All right, guys, hopefully that was usually I do more like story-based, stuff like that, but I hope this was a helpful episode. All right, so number 1, Okay, so never mind. These are the 9 mental triggers. These are the things that get people to move. And it's not that you have to hit all 9. Think through the ones that you want to hit most, I don't want to say easily, but whatever ones are going to be most effective, and just start implementing them into your business slowly and prove it, and then go to the next one, and then go to the next one, and the next one, and prove that one works. And you know what I'm saying? So number 1, likability. Number 2, reciprocity. Number 3 is authority. 4 is trust. 5 is social proof. 6 is scarcity. 7 is anticipation. That's one of my favorite ones, personally. 8 is community, and 9 is events and rituals. All right, guys, hopefully that's helpful. I have every one of those 9 things planned out throughout my entire business, not just through onboarding somebody, but what happens afterwards. And those are all things that repeat. But I need to maintain feelings of likability. Obviously, if they hate my guts, that's not a mental trigger. They're not going to do anything. You know what I mean? So anyway, every single one of these, figure out ways to start incorporating them. How can you pull those emotions out of the other person? And when you do that, my friends, that is when you start doing closing scripts. That is when you start handing them application forms, because they are in a state to receive you. Otherwise, you might be hitting them some other kind of state and might be kind of awkward. So anyway, guys, hope this is helpful. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening. Please remember to subscribe and leave feedback. Would you like me to teach your own downline 5 simple MLM recruiting tips for free? If so, go download your free MLM Masters Pack by subscribing to this podcast at secretmlmhacksradio.com.